TV. Oh yeah. Unale we pledge with love and loyalty to we sweet, sweet mama salute. Now we all come together as one. For tomorrow, now we go make salute.
For that and the challenges as well.
Also, we shall be speaking to Jesmid Fode Musa, who's the acting chairman and leader of NGC, on the importance of SLPP and NGC Progressive Alliance.
And we'll also be speaking to Albert Masakoi, the Director of External Outreach at the Electoral Commission for Sierra Leone, on the ongoing presidential nomination. And our quote for today says, the function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. And it comes from Martin Luther King Jr., an American Baptist minister and activist. Let's take a quick message from our sponsor, Electoral Commercial Bank. We'll be back to start the conversation proper. Keep watching. This is Wake Up Sierra Leone on Ayv Television.
Every day, the world wakes up to you. Millions of people are getting ready for you. For shopping, travel expenses, utility bills, trade, and commerce. If we all have wishes, then what is your financial transaction wish?
I'd like to have a choice.
I'd like convenience.
I'd like to pay for goods and services on the go.
I'd like to pay utility bills on the go. Out of credit and data, buy some mobile top-up, still on my phone. Oops, light out. I'll buy some EPSA, still on my phone.
I'd like to make payment from my account to another account through my mobile phone.
As a chef for company, I would like my staff to receive their salaries through bulk e-payment without the risk of transporting cash.
Rokel Commercial Bank Simcopo does it all.
Rokel Commercial Bank Simcopo. Think of it as
money when you're close to home and when you're away from home for unexpected expenses, and money for those times when cash fails.
If you can dream it, you can become it. If you can imagine it, you can achieve it.
Rokel Commercial Bank Simcopo is all you need.
We are now days away from Sierra Leone's Dates with Destiny, the June 24th general election. In this defining moment in the history of Sierra Leone, here at AYV, we recognize the mantle thrust upon us to be the voice of the nation fully.
We take our task to ensure fair coverage seriously. We intend to honor our pledge to you, to be your home of all things credible, factual, and all-time balanced news. Totally. This is our commitment to you. We have witnessed non-stop hours of groundbreaking broadcast in an effort that saw AYV rolled out 8 studios across Sierra Leone at Star Hill, Aberdeen, Makeni, Kenema, Bow, and London, with almost 3 kilometers of coaxial cable laid connecting 4 ground teams that consume almost 100 liters of coffee from Chef Terina. The most important number is 2. Out of dozens of aspirants, only 2 men have emerged from the conventions in February as flag bearers of the APC and SLPP. Retired Brigadier Julius Madabio and Dr. Samuel Matthew Wilson Tamara.
So far, we have witnessed a lot of intrigues. Maybe this is the beginning. Defections and realignments have been plenty. We don't know if there's more to come.
The only thing you can guarantee right now is that your home of credible, factual, and balanced news and analysis, AYV Media Empire, will bring you every twist and turn of this amazing race in full color and in high definition.
We shall have a comprehensive look at the developments around the election as we count down to Sierra Leone's date with destiny.
Women clamored and got a law that provides 30% minimum quota in governance. Will that be achieved this June?
Well, one thing is clear. The nation has begun its conversation that will culminate a date with its destiny on the 24th of June. How much will change by then? And what shifts within the political landscape are we going to see?
Find out more on the nation's biggest and most trusted news source, AYV, on Channel 33, on DSTV Channel 399, on Radio 101.7 FM, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and of course on TikTok. Yes, indeed. Only AYP. Because AYP, Nine Salo Sabi.
Welcome back. This is Wake Up Sierra Leone here on AYV Television. Don't forget to send your comments and questions to AYV. We'll definitely read them.
In our first segment of the show this morning, the Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education, in a press statement, says more than 7,000 pupils will not be taking the West Africa Senior Secondary Certificate Examination, the WASC, out of over 220, I think, who were registered for the 2023 examination. However, this came at a time when pupils will start taking the exams today across the country. So this morning to discuss this, how it's going to happen, why are those who were to register for the exams being left out? We have Augustine Bami Anthony, the communication specialist, the Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education, and Abdul Razak is chairman, Western Area, and the National Conference of Principals of Secondary Schools. And in our studio too, as always, we have Alfonso Manley, Executive Director of Civil Rights Coalition, the man who has been monitoring education in the country. Good morning, gentlemen, and welcome to the show.
Good morning.
I'll start with you, Bami. The press release I just mentioned there. The ministry tried to explain in it, but I want you to explain to our viewers and listeners, why is it that some of these kids who perhaps their parents were looking forward to them going out today to study examinations are not part of it?
Thank you very much, my brother. I'm here to just emphasize on what the Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education really put out in the press release, because we were able to manage every other information on the press release for viewers and listeners or the general public to understand our own position. The Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education, we all know, is responsible to supervise, to manage everything that has to do with education from pre-primary to senior secondary. So WASC is part of our exercise that we do daily. Every year, as we know, since 2018, government pays for public examination, NPSE, BEC, and WASC. But majorly, WASC is not paid for by, WASC is divided. All schools, including government and government-assisted schools, are what government pays for. Private school pays for themselves. Yeah. Okay. Of course, NPSC and BEC is both public and private government pays for. So this year is not an exception. We had the portal is an electronic system opened way back in November, where all principals were communicated to through a press release to go and upload the information of their keys or their candidates to the portal, so as to be able to enhance WAEC, also to facilitate the process of printing and the conduct of the exams. But before that, what we did as a ministry, we decided to conduct a head count. Head count exercise took the entire schools across Sierra Leone, where we had the FQSC, the SQUAM, and all of the officials going to schools to ensure that the number that these school leaders are presenting to the ministry is exactly what they have in their schools. Very many reasons why we did that was, among them was that because last year and the previous years, we've realized that government is spending a lot of monies on public examinations, especially WASC. For example, a school will send over 1,000 number of candidates. And when you actually go to the school, the entire school is not up to 1,000. But just a school, just one class is sending 1,000 plus candidates.
Meaning they're registering other people who are not...
of course, that is corruption we talk about in education, for which the civil society man will talk about more. And so that's why we decided to go out and ensure that we have a head count. So we're able to give out quotas to all the schools as per agreement, both the individual schools and the ministry. So we forwarded this information to WAEC as a way of sealing
Quickly, I want to clarify the use of this portal. Is it something that they were trained on by the ministry on how to use it? Because I can recall we did a story, some of them, like you mentioned, were complaining about challenges using the platform. Did he provide the training needed for them to be able to use the portal, or it's something they can just go online and use?
This is not the first time we have been writing exams of WASC in this country, meaning every other WASC examination has been used in the electronic system, one way or the other. So almost all the schools are trained by WAEC, where they have IT specialists. Every other school has an IT person that supports in the area of uploading their information. So they are all trained. They presented all these people to WAEC, and WAEC trained them adequately. But even with that, let me just rush up to a few things. When they did the first entry, they didn't succeed. The chief nominee to WAEC that resides in the Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education, who is the chief education officer, Professor Yotokano, had to run to WAEC again to have another reopen. And they did that for 3 times. The 4th time, they came around to say, we still are not able to complete a few schools. And so what happened, it was a little difficult for the chief education officer, because we understand that WASC is an international exam. It's not like the NPSC and the BECE. We had some few challenges yesterday with the NPSC, but we were able to fix it because it was internal. But WASC is different. It's different from the basic and a lot of the NPSC. So the chief education officer had to struggle with having the portal reopened for the 4th time. This time she had to travel to the Gambia to talk to the WAEC International, present some papers why they should give Sierra Leone the 4th opportunity. That took some serious conversation. And finally, that was given. It was granted to Sierra Leone. But this time, what happened? The ministry summoned all principals to a meeting, explained to them that this is the only opportunity that we have, and we have 11 days windows. And within these 11 days, please, if you have any challenge, a technical challenge, contact our district offices, or you come to headquarters, or you go to WAEC, because this is the only opportunity that you have. Please ensure that you are on top of the scheme. And the portal was reopened. On the 1st of March, in fact, not even May, they came around to say they were unable to complete a few number of them again. That one, they saw their postings or their upload on pending. They thought it was going to materialize. And only later that they came, they realized that it was pending throughout and they were unable to successfully upload their information. And the ministry didn't take it like that at all, because we want to let viewers understand that even in a situation where we have the responsibility to be answerable for every other challenges as per vicarious liability, we also understand that they can be vitiated in the situation where we make deliberate efforts to ensure we correct all possible foreseen challenges of such. So it is the responsibility of the individual principals to ensure that they do their basic administrative job as to uploading to the WAEC portal for their candidate to be eligible for the exams. We have this year, we initially had 228,171 candidates registered as per quota supplied to WAEC, but 220,721 were eligible, we are able to be uploaded. So a total of 7,450 are not going to write the exams at all, and the exams have started today.
Okay. Let me go over to you, Azak. For those who are not going to take the exam from the Conference of Principals, what's your greatest concern? Because, of course, they have paid their monies and they are expecting to be part of this exam.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
CPSS are concerned really as it's Conference of Principal of Secondary Schools, Sierra Leone. It is formed as a result of the necessity and the wake-up so that we can be able to maximize the welfare of our constituents, which are the principal, as we say. Of course, indeed, we have acknowledged some of our colleagues, not all, being that as a teacher or as a principal, you should be a role model. You should be somebody that should be taking things that are good, so that you emit good things. Because the children, of course, are people who will be taken after you. You know, you should be able to put your foot in a very stand position of integrity, professionalism. The issue about my brother here is saying is factually, well, I would want to describe it as an open secret that everybody understands that a good number of the students now will not be taking these private exams, these government exam, as a result of one, the negligence of their managers being the principal. We are able to go to talking to them so that they can understand that this particular problem is not a problem created by either WAEC or ministry, because they were given several chances so that they can be able to operate. Taking back, of course, the technicality of the issue, the portal has some challenges, really. They have some challenges. We have been able to plead with the ministry, we have been able to plead with WAEC, because that's our role as principals, so that we can be able to make them understand and also take into consideration that the children that we are teaching, the children that we are standing for are our children. There could be mistake. No man is an island.
Do you take responsibility as well? In the press statement that they issued, they were clearly blaming, principals, heads of schools, and it just mentioned it. Do you take responsibility, especially in the area where, people who should not be registered for these exams are being registered by principals or heads of schools?
Yeah, well, with the negligence of them not registering through the portal, we as principals have taken responsibility. We really taken concern of that, because there are several admonitions, several opportunities that were given there. But coming back to your question, I am sure the no man is an island. Of course, there are bound to be some mistakes. That is why we are in the bid to discussing with the authorities in the ministry so that they can have clemency. But this is a very, very difficult thing, because ministry, WAEC told us that it's not an internal thing, it's an international thing, wherein they have gone to be able to talk to the other authorities. There's no way. So what we are asking here now, I think we are trying to go into an understanding that if at all, because it is understandable now that they will not be taking this exam, so that they can have an opportunity again, so that they will be able to take the exam, because this is their future. And as conference, that is our stand. We've been able to so that we can talk to the ministry.
What would you have to say, as Lamana was saying again, to these principals who get to take these monies from private candidates and put their names to take the exams? What would you say to them? Because at the end of the day, they are part of the problem.
Well, this is a foregone conclusion now. They have taken the registration of candidates whom they think they should not be in the school. But ministry has been able to validate that particular number so that they can be able to, whether being outside students or outside candidates or in candidates of the school, they have been validated so that they can take this exam. The problem here is their efforts to make them understand, that is their effort to make their ITs that have been trained inter alia to register these candidates is the problem.
Alfonso, what do you make of all of this?
Thank you very much. Good morning to listeners and viewers. I want to discuss this issue in tandem with the education sector plan. If you look at the education sector plan that has 9 objectives, Objective 7 tells you about eliminating corruption in education. What we discuss now is purely corruption in education. Let me just lay the background. Corruption in education erodes public trust in the sector. Hence, it increases inequality. then government will not achieve its aims and objectives in implementing the free quality education. How do we tackle this? You have clearly the teacher code of conduct. And also this code of conduct includes heads of school who are bound by to adhere to this code of conduct. If you look at principle 5, it tells you about work ethics. And clearly there are rules stated as to how, you conduct an examination or the processes of an examination. And when those are flouted, principle 7.5 tells you where you should discipline those heads of school. That's the basics I want to lay in this discussion. So it actually tells you when government is paying the fees 100% for those who should write the WASC examination, because we all know the WASC examination is an international examination, including other 4 countries, Liberia, Gambia, Guinea, and Nigeria. So whatever rules govern examination is not only Sierra Leone. Unlike the NPSC, which is purely a locally conducted examination, we have 100% control over NPSC. For instance, we can fix a date for the NPSC, and tomorrow the minister may change the date for NPSC. It's within the rules of the NPSS to do that in consultation with WIAC that conduct this examination, because it's an internal examination, not with WASC examination, which is an international examination. So first, where the corruption starts, this is where I want to nip it on the board. The Ministry of Basic Education will go out to ensure they do head count to ascertain the number of people that are eligible to write this examination. That's the WASC. And this is being done by the Free Quality Education, supported by the Department of Quality Assurance in the Ministry of Basic Education. This is where principal gives false information. This is where heads of school inflates the enrollment for the senior secondary school. And this is where I want to single out a particular school called Ambassador Wuri School. An ambassador who is an advisor to His Excellency the President, who should set right example, who should be a role model in the education sector, but sadly not this one of the school involved in corruption. I'm singling out this school because the President is advisor today to advise him to solve this problem. He will get a wrong advice because those advisors are also included in the corruption. How can you imagine a school like Ambassador Bonwu School submit over 1,000 pupils to write WASC examination when the entire enrollment of that school is not up to 1,000? The ministry further cuts it down to 700. I also blame the ministry because the ministry also know that that school, the enrollment rate for the SSS is not up to 500. So if you have a personality very close to the president, who is an advisor to the president, and also enshrine in the education sector plan the responsibility of the SEC, the SEC should have invited him for questioning into the fact that this figure was quoted by the head. Excuse me.
To clarify,
yes.
Is Ambassador Bonwu running the school? Is he managing the school, or a school that is named after him?
So I tell you, when you
is it the principal of the school?
Okay, let me tell you how the school operates. You have what is called Board of Governors.
Okay. And
it was the view and opinion of the former Minister of Basic Education, the very first Minister, Alpha Timbo, based on gentleman's agreement, that those proprietors of schools should become the chair of the board of those schools. And if you look at the Old Education Act, Section 32 tells you that the board manages the schools. So if you build the schools, become the proprietor, you have the greatest responsibility as the principal based on the Education Act. So he is the chair of the board of the school. They bear the greatest
I just wanted us to clarify, because
this is what I'm clarifying according to the Education. It's not an allegation anymore, because this figure is being quoted here in AYV by the education specialist, the head of communication in the ministry with data. Okay. With data, quoted here with data. So if we have to nip this on the board, if we have to get education right, and then say I will not sweep under the carpet.
So in all
of this, you've also blamed the ministry.
Yes.
And Alfonso is saying, you know, you're giving preferences to individuals who might have influence within, and they are taking advantage of the system.
I beg to differ to a large extent, because the Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education is not an individual, it's an organization where systems and procedures operate, and we really do not fix the systems and procedures to fit an individual. We do it for a national benefit. So the area of him saying we probably are one way or the other supporting people to corrupt the system is something I want to beg to differ to a huge extent. What we do as a ministry always is we conduct head counts, but this is almost always the case. When you go for head counts, the school heads will tell you, some of my PPs didn't come to school today. So what we do, we give a 10%, 10% like provision that all these kids that really we are not in school on the day of the verification will fit into the 10%. So for example, if we have gone to your school and we met 300 PPs and you, the principal, say, no, more kids are there with proofs from the register, we'll give that room of 10% for those who were absent for that day. So the area of headcount really started this year. You know, since the introduction of the free quality school education program, one of the greatest pillars has been access to education. So we have been able to ensure that we have more pupils come on board to be educated as per human capacity development. So what prompted the headcount was last year, the same Ambassador Bonwuri, I'll give him statistics now. Ambassador Bonwuri last year presented 1,999 candidates for WASC. So that was an eye-opener to the ministry. We decided to now conduct headcount, not just on Ambassador Bonwuri, but all of the schools across, all of the senior secondary schools across Sierra Leone who are eligible to write the WASC, government WASC exams. So what happened this year, we were able to identify 700 candidates instead of the usual 1,999 for Ambassador Bonwuri. So we please, I think I am protected.
Yeah, you are, but he's asking a very important question. You've identified... Alfonso, please. You've identified an issue with a school, and you were talking earlier about corruption in the education system, and Alfonso emphasized that. What are the actions? What's to address this?
I think my premise was laid clearly that we had access to, that is our first pillar, access to education. So we only started doing head counts this year, I said. So last year was, you know, laws cannot be reciprocated. You cannot go back to find all those who are guilty last year because there is not a new law this year. That we have to understand that. So we have started this year. I have said, instead of the usual 1,999 that they used to submit, this time is 700. Yeah, but even with the 700, they have found one thing. They are one of the schools that we are unable to upload their names or information of their candidates. Well, simply because they were waiting for the last day. They thought decisions are going to be changed by the ministry to give them access to more keys, probably. That's why. But they were one of the schools that are really affected in all these decisions that we are making. So it is not about, I will emphasize, it's not about the ministry compromising corruption. It's not about the ministry favoring a few people. It is about the ministry implementing. This is part of the transformative drive. It's a process. It's a process. Last year, it was 999. This year is 700. And that is how we go along. By the time you realize it, we are right there. It's not automated.
Alfonso, you are not finished. Please go.
Yes, thank you very much. You know, yeah, the minister always sits here to tell you that they work at the Ministry of Basic Education with data. Whatever decision they take is driven by data. You know, whatever decision the ministry takes is driven by data. How are you gambling to say, okay, this year we reduce to 700, come next year we reduce to 500? What informs you to take decision in the ministry?
I just said headcount.
The ninth objective is innovation and technology. And all of us know the ability of the minister when it comes to innovation and technology.
It's a process.
Don't tell me you guess.
Figure. It's a process.
It should be accurate. Those processes should be accurate. What I'm saying here is, if you go to a school where you are doing head count and 40 kids in that school, let 40 kids write the example. If you not set that example, you may take the ministry, say the ministry is serious. But when you give the largest of 10% of people who you don't know, when you don't know the bus enrollment rate of that particular school, how do you take some decision? So this is where government spending on that. They should not be spending. Those money that we use to increase teacher salary, support teachers more, get quarters for teacher, provide sustainable electricity for school. Those money is being used to pay public examination for those who are not eligible to write those public examinations. And we have remedies in the education sector plan. We have remedies in the teacher code of conduct. Why are we not implementing them? I guess the question I'm asking, why are we not implementing them? Are we pampering corruption in the education sector? And let me make this very clear. Those principals, they admitted to this, that their IT officer made a mistake. As a result, 7,450 will not be writing the exam. They were asked to go back and hold CTA meetings. Few of them did. Let me state here very clearly. The ONS, they are part of this. We got their support. A few days ago, we are out in communities. The Director of Quality Assurance, the Deputy Chief Education Officer, the Permanent Secretary, all of us, we are out to ensure we talk to the community so that they understand that the mistake was not done by MBSSC, nowhere. But what I'm saying here that those people fail to engage the CTA to actually pass this information. If anything happens, we bear the greatest responsibility, and we are recommending for the ministry to close down those schools. So they have the window today to engage the CTA to say, look, we made the mistake. They admitted when we held meeting at TSC to say they did not actually monitor the process to the end. If when you send a mail, you wait for a reply to say mail sent. Simple. So when you upload the portal, you wait, the portal will tell you submit. But when it's pending and you leave it like that, so it's the fault of the IT officer, and they will attain. The reason why I'm saying this is because they are getting along free with this. There is no punishment from the ministry, even though there are provisions in the education sector plans, there are provisions in the teacher code of conduct to actually punish those offenders of those crimes. And this is the occurring year after year after year. Okay. So the ministry seems complacent. I'm using Ambassador Bonu, who is not the only one, but he is an advisor who sits in the office of the president. So if President Bioko person they can advise me on this issue where they happen now, I could tell the president that they all those seats.
Okay, so let's not stick to a particular name. In terms of the data which he speaks on, it's very simple. Students go from SS1 to SS2, so there should be a flow of data of who is supposed to sit the WAS exam. So would that not be a correction method or a way to curb all of these influx in terms of just data?
I think I need to let you understand the process also. Yes, I agree with you to a certain extent that we have a provision of tracking from SSS2 to SSS3. But we also have to understand that there is the policy of government to give other chance to candidates who wrote the exams last year to rewrite is twice the chance they have. So in addition to the number that will be promoting to SSS3 that we'll be having on the register, we also have to expect candidates that will repeat the exams, at least for the first time. And they are given the opportunity, they are also legally given the opportunity to write the exams. So these are two sides of the coin. That's why I said it is a process. It is not something automated. You will not just go.
These are candidates who continue to continue with the school system, continue taking classes. They're part of the school as well.
Yes.
Those candidates will go sit and wait until the exam they come to register.
Of course, we know they are part of a school. I am not trying to defend anything. I am saying all of us are aware of the fact. Of course, some of us are bitter about it, that the principals are engaged in bringing people who, in fact, they're like passengers. Like conductors finding passengers on the street. Please come, I have a quota of 500. I have only 200 keys in my school. I want to run it up to 500. Come with 1,500,000. Then you write the exams. We know that. We are aware of that. The very reason the other days pointed out that it's a recipe to examination malpractice, because a lot of them are not even better prepared for the exams. They will just come to sit the exams or write the exams. They will even wear the uniforms at the back of the school toilet and sneak their way into the hall. So I am very, very aware of that. What I'm seeing as a point of policy from the Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education, we are aware that the principals are liable to be punished. That's why in our press release, we stated very clearly our position that they are not going to go scot-free. We are going to bring them to book. We are going to investigate them. If it is warrant corruption, then we invite the ACC. If it is administrative processes, then we'll take the administrative measures. The very reason we have the CPSS by our side all the time in all this, and Alfonso was also expressing the area of a concern of the principals not being honest. When this thing happened, we have called meetings, several meetings, at least 5 times. They will attend. The recent one we just had at TSC, for which Alfonso also was there and Mr. Razak attended. The principals all accepted the fault that it was due to their own negligence, that they didn't fully follow the processes of uploading, and they only later realized on the last minute, the 11th hour, that they were unable to upload. But within this process that we asked them to come for technical support from the ministry, a lot of schools came from the provinces in particular, and they were supported. Their issues were cleared. It's just because of corruption, as Alfonso rightly said. Some of these principals waited and waited and waited until the last day, hoping that the ministry would change its mind to come back to say, then you can upload as much as keys that you want. So they had to wait until a few hours to the time of the portal closure that they decided to upload. And it's what happened. A few of the candidates were successfully uploaded, and a good number of them were pending because the time was almost closed. This is automated. When they say 12 o'clock p.m., it is 12 o'clock p.m. It is not 1 after 12. Maybe a lot of them were struggling with the time. That was also another thing. These principals who accepted in our presence at the ministry, at TSC in the meeting, made an undertaking to go communicate this to their candidates, their pupils, and the parents in a CTA meeting, that they need to look out for another opportunity of writing the exams. Some of them suggested the forthcoming WASC private exams for their candidates. Unfortunately, only 1 or 2 principals did. Yes, the school at Allentown, Victi, one Almami Kamara did. Another pastor in the same Wellington axis, who is a principal, also did. He summoned CTA meeting and explained to the parents, and the parents understood. Yes, it's difficult that the kids have to wait for another year or so to write the exams, but the reality is they didn't do the part of their job. What I am here for as a ministry representative is to communicate to the general public that it is not the responsibility of the Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education to do those menial jobs, to go upload candidates.
Who is actually paying attention to these over 7,000 kids who will not be taking these exams? Innocently, they've registered, they've paid perhaps, or they've been attending classes looking forward to take the exams, and someone somewhere, they are, for their own faults, the kids will not be taking this exam. Who is thinking about it?
Yeah, so the ministry is concerned. The other day I said here that the ministry wants to have more kids on board to write the exams. We are happy to also share that every year there is an increment made on the enrollment and candidates writing the exams. I remember the other year, some of us wrote the exams. We are just 35,000 or so. We are now talking of last year, for example, 206,000 candidates. And this year, we are talking about over 228,000 candidates. We are happy to really get them all write the exams. But we also are firm in decisions that if you are not eligible, you really are not eligible. Because it's about the conduct, the credibility of the exams. If for any reasons people start to frown at a WASC examination in this country, then it's a double jeopardy, because internally will be destroyed and externally will not be accepted by compatriots. So we go for the lesser evil, and the lesser evil is to let out those who really are not eligible to write the exams, go find another examination platform like the private WASC to write. in the interest of credibility, in the interest of reputation, and the interest of keeping standards.
Okay. Alfonso, let me get back to Damana.
Yeah,
It's just for the sake of the legality which it speaks about. It's completely legal for students to go to a school to sit the exam. At the end of the day, tries to get a uniform, go as you made mention. However, just for the sake of sanity for the educational system in Sierra Leone, you think it should be completely celebrated? Do you think so? The private was and the government was. If you are not a student, do not sit government was. If you have left the schooling system, then find a way to the private was. Do you think that's a possible solution?
It's possible. If principal takes responsibility for their action, it's possible. I'm just telling you that whatever decision they take at the Ministry of Basic Education is driven by data. Right. So firstly, you should know the number of students that are in SS2 that progress to SS3. And numbers of those repeaters should be ascertained before the start of the school academic year. It should be. There should not be room even for any head count where we have integrity in the system. It is because we are not taking actions. And these heads of schools, they can do anything, they get away with it. It's becoming a pattern in the ministry. This is why I'm annoyed. So first, let me just say, all of these 7,450, these are not, most of them are not regular kids. Most of them are one they go for right to private was, now passengers them. Most of them are not. You know, every school a convent, neither Prince of Wales, nor Edwards, no government model, no government local, no collegiates, no services. Some of those mushroom schools, sorry to say, because this, when we call some of these principles at TSC, the permanent secretary was forced to ask. Now that makes some of our principal. They say, no, you already run this school, now they go Guinea, so you left me in charge. Can you imagine? We're talking of transforming education in the 21st century, where the president sits as the chair of foundational learning for Africa, having the minister in the sector received an award, so say is the best minister in the world. We cannot compromise this. We want to move the sector forward. And our role as civil society is to ensure we expose some of this issue. And it's the responsibility of MBSSE to take relevant steps to ensure we transform learning for the better. So we cannot have those principles next year, this same principle that will do this. Nothing, they happen, then they go back and do the same. I sit here and say this. Maybe some of them are not members of the CPSS. They are not some of these principles. They are not members of the CPSS. They're not the SLT, not drag them. We can't bog the education sector. MBSS, TSC for weed them out. You have no business in the education sector.
Razak, do you want to respond to that?
Yes, indeed. Okay. I want to take some exception a little bit. First of all, from what Mami says, there are data, of course, data in the school. Now, data is being informed on a gradual and annual basis, that is yearly. That is when you're in GSS1, you should have the data from the place where you came from to SS2, SS3, and the place of exit. That is the worst or daycare or either. As you say, then, Alfonso said that the mushroom schools, of course, that is how he has described it. But the whole thing is, I would want to describe it as a fair attitude. Now, let me just inform the general public or all of us here that the process of establishing a school is being really the sole and responsibility of the Ministry of Education. How do you establish a school? In the first place, whether be a private or government, whether be a private, of course it should be private when you want to establish. You make the intention by writing. When it's written, that is applying to the Ministry of Education that you want to construct to establish a school as a result of the area or the places where you are, so that they can be able to have an access school into that particular. Ministry must be able to come and see from your letter to see how far you have gone and the people you're talking about, because a school is being established as in an area wherein you have congested people so that they can be able to have that access. Before you establish a school, you go through that process, the ministry comes, they look at it, and they give the permission to operate without government financial approval. The first approval is for you to operate. the second approval, now you haven't operated 1 or 2 years, and you go again to tell them, now, Mr. Government, I have operated for 3 years now. My kids are now eligible. I've been able to train people that can now write the WAS or write the daycare. Can I now have another approval so that these people can have the ability to go through those exams? Government again asks them to present qualified teachers, qualified people who have that potential and the credibility to be able to teach them and pass that exam, and they are given. And here then, they given their approval. Then a board of governors is now drawn thereafter. That is, the board of governors now will have the representative of the school. If it's a community school, you nominate at least 4 or 5 people as your board members. Now the ministry nominates the rest of the other people. Because the total number should be 12. The rest of the other people, the ministry, that is the ministry representative, who should be the chief education officer, should be a member of that board. But because of his numerous duties, he nominates somebody in the ministry to be represented in the board, so that we're able to direct the other people who may not be having the understanding of how education runs. So that is why an individual in the board. So when all this comes, anything that has to do with the school goes through the board. The board must be able to validate whatever thing, because school policies, school running is about policies. Now, this
But
exam,
like Alfonso is saying, is it that we have a situation where you have individuals, just principals, who take decision on what's to do with the schools, and the boards you mentioned are really not functional. Is that what is causing this problem?
Yeah, well, it is this board who are responsible to validate whatever, because the principle.
But is that happening? Is that what is happening?
Well, to me, I don't think, because the board has to, every decision or every bigger thing you want to do in the school must go through that board.
Exactly. You agree that this is actually a problem of the principals, because I can recall the last exams. You have people who took the exams who could not access their results, who could not have their results to proceed to the university. I remember they went to the ministry as well. There was a protest about principals who were putting their names, they paid money, and when it comes to them getting their results, it's become a challenge with WAEC as well. This issue of principals, Bami has mentioned how principals are taking decisions with passengers. Alfonso mentioned, saying, do you really want to take responsibility and agree that it's your fault with these 7,000 kids who will not be taking the exams?
We are talking about few principals who could be.
You know them? You've been able to identify them?
We have already highlighted here that some of these principals who are not able to upload their candidates, accepting their fault, that is as a result of their IT. Even when we go to school, even in school, we've been taught, after examination is given, you expect some people who are in that classroom, you sat and you listen to the lectures, are bound to fail. And references have been given. This is also not unique to this particular process.
It's nothing like corruption, having more people that they want to register under the school system. Like Alfonso mentioned, they are not part of the school system. These, as a fact to them, are passengers who just wait for the exams and go and pay money to be registered, and government is also paying as well.
These are pupils in the schools of various areas that went to be validated by the ministry people. That is their number. Every school has to be validated before you go to writing these exams. Now, the problem what we are talking here is the inaccessibility of the portal. That is the negligence some of these principals portray in order for them to be able to access the portal. That's what we are talking about. Already, these candidates, the whole lot of these candidates are being validated by the ministry. Now there is a wake-up call that everybody should have an access to education. People that were dropped, the people that were in the school before this time around, dropped out as a result of payment or some other inadequacies. When this call came by the ministry, by His Excellency the President, they were able to rejoin again into the same school system. So these are the candidates we are talking about. When they came into the school, they were able to say, okay, now we want to seize this opportunity so that we can be able to write the exam. The whole process is the laissez-faire attitude these leaders, these principles made in order for them not to be able to access the portal. That's what we are saying. Alfonso Mane said we should be punished. Already it's a punishment already. We as principal, as I say, the Conference of Principles is a body that maximizes the welfare of our constituents. It's already a punishment already. If you've been given again another punishment, I think again it's not too fine. Because you only say that we want to appeal, and we are continuing appealing to the ministry, to the various stakeholders, so that these people could be given another chance, so that they can be able to write their exams. Once it's done, I'm sure we'll be able to have respite in this particular, because the parents are also not happy now. They are now in an oppressive situation, unlike these principals themselves. See what has happened in Canada. We are in a whole principal's house was burnt down and is now on the run for his life and his family. So this is uncalled for. So what we are stressing at CPSS here is for us to be able to make governments understand that indeed it's a crime. The crime has been conducted, has been done. But what we want to say, we want them to tamper justice with mercy, by allowing these students for another to take off so that they can have this exam.
Alfonso,
when hence is done, I'm sure all of us will be in peace.
You quickly respond
we will not
to
have
that.
time again to come to here.
No, let's join David and Wilson for the news summary and we'll get back to you. Yes.
League. But in our top stories this morning, the Secretary General of the Commonwealth Secretariat, Baroness Patricia Scotland, has in two different engagements met with President Julius Maada Bio and his key contender, Dr. Samuel Kamara, of the main oppositional People's Congress Party in London. Both engagements were held at the Malvern House in London. The engagements were centered on commitments to an election pledge and maintaining the core Commonwealth values, including peace, democracy, and the rule of law.
President Bill says the Secretary General of the Commonwealth Secretariat, Baroness Patricia Scotland, has assured him of the Commonwealth's commitment to supporting his government's effort to ensure peaceful, free, and fair elections on June 24, 2023. The President, who is in London with his wife, First Lady Fatima Biu, on the invitation of the royal family to witness the coronation of King Charles III, said on his tweet handle that he met with his dear sister and friend Baroness Patricia Scotland in London, where they discussed Sierra Leone's forthcoming multi-tier elections and his government's commitment to promoting free, fair, and credible elections, which has been the bedrock of the SLPP administration's investment in key electoral reforms. President Bill said Baroness Scotland acknowledged the efforts of his government towards sustaining peace in Sierra Leone and encourage all parties to commit to a peaceful process and follow the established channels for registering objections to any component of the process.
Story, President Bio has given an assent to the Finance Act 2023, which according to the Minister of Finance will help the government to mobilize more domestic revenue. Joining the call for other members of the private sector, the chairman of the Sierra Leone Employees Federation, Kobe Walker, has pleaded with government to review the new act, which he said has the issue surrounding the survival of the sector in Sierra Leone.
Given the multiple issues outlined, I will now like to use this opportunity to plead with His Excellency on behalf of the Employers Federation to kindly listen to the private sector, even though he has accepted his signature on the Finance Act 2023. Indeed, as corporate figures, we will obey and naturally complain and plead with His Excellency for us to revisit the Finance Act 2023 as it has debilitated issues surrounding the survival of the private sector.
And finally, police at Waterloo have arrested one John Conte, who allegedly to be a notorious witch doctor with human skull at 5 Mile community. According to police, they are working together with the Council of Traditional Healers to get rid of bad ones who are giving their profession bad name will face the law.
Upon the intelligence we received in respect of his operations, we decided to liaise and work with the Council of Traditional Healers Sierra Leone. And in partnership with the Council of Traditional Healers Sierra Leone, we conducted a raid at the premises of the said witch doctor at 5 Mile. During the search, we discovered a human skull. We discovered 2 shotgun cartridges. These are guns that are commonly called chakabula. We discovered a lot of other items in his possession. Many other bad happenings in the within the traditional healers that precipitated these raids. And we are happy that we are having the cooperation of the membership and the leadership of the Council of Traditional Healers Sierra Leone. They are really helping us to get rid of these bad people within their organization.
As a traditional healers, we are healers, we are not a killer. So therefore, I take it fit to take drastic action against those people, those proclaimed herbalists. And with that clearance, we make use of that opportunity.
All right, that's all we have in our top stories this morning. It appears as if my Waterloo people will never let me down.
Yes, Alfonso was to react to Razak. We tend to round up, but Alfonso, I asked earlier, you know, these kids who will not be taking these exams, perhaps some who've been through the school system innocently, they've prepared their minds and they've been studying, and they're not taking the exams. Who is you know, paying attention to them?
You know, for those young kids, I felt it so much. After they have studied, their parents have invested a lot, they are caught in all of this. But again, for those knowing this regular school examination, and they paid 1.5 million, 2 million to those principals, I have no solution for them. Let us go find solution for themselves, because knowingly they do the wrong thing for fuel the education sector. Why not have the capacity to conduct examination for over 200 to 300 kids? They cannot. How many examination centers do we have? How many teachers, supervisors do we have to man this kind of examinations? So this is why, when I go to ask people other side, they say, can't sit back. So I am saying, not all of those 7,500 are regular kids. Boku, they were passengers. And I'm also appealing to those heads of schools to go back and call CTA meeting for the genuines to inform their parents that it's because we have problem with the uploading, they will not be writing the exam. However, all it's not lost. I will not recommend for government to pay private to us. I can recommend for government to continue to actually provide, you know, support for teachers. Because if free quality school education, we need to motivate the teachers to teach well. They need housing facilities. They need solar light system in the schools. They need transportation facilities. This is what I will advocate for. In other words, to get teachers to teach those kids very well. Teachers must be taken care of. So those money that government should be using to take care of teachers, they are now using to pay for illegal students to write the WASSCE examination. That's how we not condone. And I'm saying MBSSC, TSC, go back to principle 7. You have remedies, how you can discipline them. Because what ethics principle 5 clearly states what you can do and what you cannot do. And principle 7 states those remedies you can fall back to when they flout principle 5. So it's simple. The laws are there, the policies are there. Why are we not implementing them? This is what Bami should answer to the public.
Okay, thank you very much. In addition to what you want to say, let's round up on the basis of ethics of the very principals who get to take monies or through passengers, candidates as their name. So on the basis of ethics, what is expected of a principal or a teacher, round up on that.
Emulate the processing of ethics. Ethics and professionalism are the core values of a principal. Because as I earlier say, you should be seen to be doing good things, because just like the mirror, when you want to have yourself look very, very flamboyantly, look in the face or in the body, you go to look where when you've taken all what you needed to make you look gay and very bright. You go to the mirror and look. The principal are the torchbearer of integrity, the torchbearer of professionalism. What I'm saying, Avon Zomali is saying that he will not be recommending, but I will be recommending for the ministry to understand the situation as it is. Let me tell you, CPSS, as we say, all of this school, all of the principal, as long as you're a principal, whether private or not, or government assisted, you should be able to belong to CPSS, because that's the body that works with ministry, WAEC, and all of these things. But a whole lot of them are not members of CPSS. But they are principals in their own rights, in their own very, very school. And so becoming a principal, I have already been able to explain, is a process. And we have those, majority of these people that are involved are principals that are acting in that acting position. You see, if you've gone through the rudiments of how a principal should be recruited and made a principal, I'm sure you belonging again to CPSS, you'll be able to not doing all of these things. Being a principal at Wellington, being a principal at Calabar Town or the Far East there is also equivalent to being a principal of Prince of Wales and all of these things. You know, you are only carrying the same statue, but what you do is the differences. What you do in your school and what the other person does in his own school brings the differences. We are saying that this has happened. It's already a punishment that majority of this will not be writing this exam, which starts today. And they are all poised to writing this exam. They will be having mixed feeling. Even the parents are having mixed feeling. We continuously appeal to the Ministry of Education because it's the umbrella body. This is Sierra Leone. This is Masalo. And all of these children, all of these candidates we are talking about are not outsiders. They are Sierra Leoneans whom the government or the ministry should be responsible to having it. We still appeal to them so that a chance will be given to them to write these exams. Okay. We will keep on continuing admonishing our colleagues so that what has been done here cannot be undone any longer. We want to appeal through the ministry, and as conference, we've been taking them into understanding so that they can.
Bami, as we close,
I am going to do it very short. I want to restate the press release. The keys 7,450 as per the press release, as per the decision of the Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education, are not going to write this year's government examination for WASC. It's clear. Let's don't go around it. Exams have started today. They were not catered for in terms of printing of question papers. The answer booklets were not prepared, meaning they are really not going to write this year's WASC examination. That is what is stated, is communicated in the press release. In the area of what the ministry is doing to at least provide some remedy to these situations, we have done quite a lot. It's part of the transformation. Before now, we had the 2004 Education Act. Since the introduction of the Free Quality School Education Program in 2018, we have introduced as a ministry new policies, new ideas that are by far incompatible with that of what the Act says, the 2004 Act. So what we've done as a ministry is to have the legal backing, the legal force. We've been able to do a overhaul of that of the 2004 Act with a new Basic and Senior Secondary Act that is passed through Parliament and now on the table of the President for its accent. Then it becomes a law. So what we do now, we'll have the full force of law and we'll be able to punish lawbreakers as per the demands of the general public. And Alfonso.
Okay, well, thank you very much, gentlemen, and we'll continue this conversation. It's just that it's very unfortunate that these kids will not be taking the exams, especially the innocent ones who've gone through the school system, and we are looking forward to this. But thanks very much. The education conversation will definitely continue some other time. Thanks for joining us. This is Wake Up Sierra Leone. We take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue the second segment of the show. Keep watching.
Every day, the world wakes up to you. Millions of people are getting ready for you. For shopping, travel expenses, utility bills, trade, and commerce. If we all have wishes, then what is your financial transaction wish?
I'd like to have a choice.
I'd like convenience.
I'd like to pay for goods and services on the go.
I'd like to pay utility bills on the go. Out of credit and data, buy some mobile top-up, still on my phone. Oops, light out. I'll buy some ETSA, still on my phone.
I like to make payment from my account to another account through my mobile phone.
As a CEO of a company, I would like my staff to receive their salaries through bulk e-payment without the risk of transporting cash.
Rokel Commercial Bank Simcopo does it all.
Rokel Commercial Bank Simcopo. Think of it as
Money when you're close to home and when you're away from home for unexpected expenses, and money for those times when cash fails.
If you can dream it, you can become it. If you can imagine it, you can achieve it.
Rokel Commercial Bank Simcopo is all you need.
We are now days away from Sierra Leone's dates with destiny, the June 24th general election. In this defining moment in the history of Sierra Leone, here at AYV, we recognize the mantle thrust upon us to be the voice of the nation fully.
We take our task to ensure fair coverage seriously. We intend to honor our pledge to you, to be your home of all things credible, factual, and all times balanced news. Totally. This is our commitment to you. We have witnessed non-stop hours of groundbreaking broadcast in an effort that saw AYV rolled out 8 studios across Sierra Leone at Tar Hill, Aberdeen, Makeni, Kenema, Bow, and London, with almost 3 kilometers of coaxial cable laid connecting 4 ground teams that consume almost 100 liters of coffee from Chef Teina. The most important number is 2. Out of dozens of aspirants, only 2 men have emerged from the conventions in February as flag bearers of the APC and SLPP, retired Brigadier Julius Madabio and Dr. Samuel Matthew Wilson Tamara.
So far, we have witnessed a lot of intrigues. Maybe this is the beginning. Defections and realignments have been plenty. We don't know if there's more to come.
The only thing you can guarantee right now is that your home of credible, factual, and balanced news and analysis, AYV Media Empire, will bring you every twist and turn of this amazing race in full color and in high definition.
We shall have a comprehensive look at the developments around the election as we count down to Sierra Leone State with destiny.
Women clamored and got a law that provides 30% minimum quota in governance. Will that be achieved this June?
Well, one thing is clear. The nation has begun its conversation that will culminate a date with its destiny on the 24th of June. How much will change by then? And what shifts within the political landscape are we going to see? Find out more on the nation's biggest and most trusted news source, AYV, on Channel 33, on DSTV Channel 399, on Radio 101.7 FM, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and of course on TikTok.
Yes, indeed. Only AYV. Because AYV, Nine Salo Sabi.
Welcome back. This is Wake Up Sierra Leone here on AYV Television and Radio. Now, in our final segment, we continue the conversation on the importance of the Sierra Leone People's Party, SLPP, and the National Grand Coalition, NGC Party Progressive Alliance. On Zoom, we have Jesmed Fode Suma, who is the acting chairman and leader of the NGC. Good morning, Jesmed. How are you?
Yes, good morning. Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you. I said thank you for having me. Good morning. I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you. And I'm talking to you now.
Morning with us. This alliance, particularly Jesmed, what does it bring for you? Or what was the position in all of this in accepting the alliance between the NGC and the SLPP?
Well, we got into the alliance because we follow the shared vision of both leaders of the SLPP and the NGC party that is focused on unifying the nation. So the fundamental principle of this alliance is centered around establishing a unified government that will help towards the transformational development of the country. The second pillar has to do with changing the trajectory of development by making sure that there is economic freedom, addressing the menacing problems that we face as a nation. And when you have multiple talents from the east, south, north, and west converging together, focusing on developing the nation, you can ask of nothing better than that. And that is what this alliance is all about.
The unity which you say both parties want to create, you know, in terms of policies as well, regardless of the unity, the policies in which the NGC will bring, how, you know, certain are you that some of these policies will be, you know, put into place or implemented by the SLPP?
Well, as I said, it came about on account of the shared vision of the both leaders of both parties, So we have no doubt that there is every level of sincerity and commitment to develop this nation. And that's we don't have the doubts that this is going to help transform the nation. And that's what we're asking for everybody who believes in the peace, unity, and development of the nation, especially when you consider the fact that there is no alternative. In this election, there is no alternative. You have one or two options. It's either you embrace the transformation and development agenda of this alliance, or you join the Mamikos party. Those are the two options.
Just made the agreement that was read, you know, at Bintu Mani some time ago, spoke about forming a team, a campaign team, and also a joint manifesto. How far have you gone with that? It's some weeks now since you know, the alliance was formally launched at the Bintu Mani Conference Center. Election, there's still no manifesto.
Everything that is that framework agreement that was signed in Bintu Mani is in works. We're working on every little aspect of it. So there is no, it has to do with the internal working of both parties. And when we do, you guys will see the joint campaign going around, trying to push the vision of President Marabio and that of Dr. Kande Kole-Yumkela that focuses on the interests of the people of Sierra Leone and nothing else.
Manifesto. You were also to develop a joint manifesto. It's less than 2 months to the June 2040 elections, and when should the public expect a manifesto, a joint manifesto from the alliance?
I can't give it any timeline, but that's coming soon. I'm a member of that manifesto committee focusing on macroeconomic development, and we're putting the document, the ideas together. We have to tap into so many talents across the nation. This is not about a single party or a single person. We bring in people from every walks of life, whether you are involved in politics or not. If you have something to put on the table to move this nation forward, and that's the vision shared by President Marabio and that of Dr. Kande Kole-Yumkela, and we are the leg shoulders to see that that comes into reality.
Recently, in an interview with the BBC's Umar Fofana, after his nomination, President Bio spoke about his focus, if elected in his second term, would be on agriculture, you know, food security as well. What's the focus of the NGC? This is an alliance. That is his own vision. Do you have, you know, other areas you want the government, if elected, President Bio, if elected, to focus on? You've been talking a lot about the economy, inflation, and all of that, livelihood of people as well.
Well, as I said, this alliance came about because of the shared vision of both leaders. So whatever is a signature agenda in the next government is the same vision shared by Dr. Kande Yumkela. You know how the inflation situation is around the world, and you see this is how visionary our leaders are. They see in the challenges of the world. The center of that is energy and food, and now he's of his development strategy moving forward, so we can bring down the cost of living, the center of which is food. So bring down the price of food, and that's why he wants to focus on food production, agriculture in particular.
The weekend we saw Dr. Kande Yumkela being and other NGC former members of parliament being nominated, going through the nomination process at the SL office in Cambia. Dr. Kande Yumkela announced here that he's now running as well for the presidency. But he wasn't sure about whether he's going to run for parliament. What's the reason for that? We saw he's going to contest again for parliament.
Yeah, he's going to contest for parliament because his people, he actually didn't want to, but his people begged him. And they had delegations to meet him. He says, we know you're going to be busy setting up stuff, moving the nation. He's on the ticket.
Is it about trying to be safe if the alliance or doesn't win the presidency, is still in government through through parliament?
No. As I mentioned earlier, we have no doubt in our commitment as well as our expectations with respect to respecting every aspect of this alliance agreement. So that's not it. It has to do with satisfying the will of his people who were begging him that, probably they've not seen anybody better enough to represent him at that moment. But there is opportunity for him to focus on something else, and then whoever is on the next list. Remember, it's a PR system wherein there is no by-election. So the party that wins that particular seat will always occupy it, irrespective of whoever is there.
You're saying Dr. Yumkela will resign if in the situation where the SLPP wins the election and is given another appointment? Is that what you're saying?
First of all, we have no doubt that the SLPP is going to win. So let's just let's get that as a reality. The numbers are clear and our strategies are clear, and the people are committed to see an alliance government. They are excited about the fact that we're south, east, and west and central of the nation to focus on development. So there is no doubt, at least in my mind, that this alliance is going to win the election.
Answered my question. I asked whether you're saying Dr. Kande Yumkela will resign from parliament if he wins the parliamentary seats, and the SLPP wins, of which you're very sure in the executive arm of government. Are you saying he's going to resign?
And the colleague can ask question whenever you have the opportunity. But as far as we are concerned for now, he's on the ticket for Cambia district.
I didn't get the first part of your answer. We lost your sound. I was asking whether you're saying he's going to resign.
No, I said, no, I'm not saying he's going to resign. I'm saying that whenever he's going to be on AYV anyway soon. So whenever you have an opportunity to speak with him on AYV, he will be able to answer that question for you. But for now, he had to, respond to the wishes of his members in his constituency. And it was a real appeal. There was a massive number across the entire district came together and pleaded with him to continue to be on the ticket. And he has to, that's his main focus, and he's going to focus on that. Anything that happens next, you guys will know.
Yes, Jasmine, let's talk about the polling will be the collapse rather of the NGC party. How, how's the hierarchical structure? What are your plans as a party, regardless of this alliance? Are you still going strong?
Of course, the party is going much stronger, not even strong, stronger. And you can see from the from the agreement, every party is expected, every member of the agreement is expected to exist, coming together, say, let's work this plot out and grow more food. That's all it is.
Okay. Jasmine, thank you very much for speaking to us. We'll keep in touch with you. I'm sure we were expecting to have you in the studios, but we understand you travel out of town. Quickly, I want to confirm whether you've done nomination. We know nomination for local council has completed. Did you put up a candidate for the mayoral seat in Freetown and other parts of the country?
No, we did not, because we are part of an alliance, and we've agreed that we're going to support the SLPP mayoral candidates, because we want to make sure the western area is taken care of. We need a transformational changes in that western area. We don't need a mayor that is going to be focused